Hopefully everyone is here for SVC301, Move Your Desktops and Applications to AWS with End User Computing. I am Senior Specialized Solutions Architect Justin Stokes. I specialize in End User Computing, obviously. And today I have with me
Hardy Siegling.
From Moody's, and it helps if I have the clicker in my hand. So today we are going to talk a little bit about what AWS EUC is. We're going to dive a little bit into Amazon WorkSpaces, and then, so that you don't have to just take my word for it, Hardy is going to go a little bit into Moody's journey with Amazon WorkSpaces. So what is AWS EUC? AWS EUC is Amazon AppStream, which is a secure managed application delivery portal. It allows you to stream your Windows-based applications to any endpoint. There's also Amazon WorkSpaces, which is our secure managed Windows desktop and also now Linux desktop solution. Amazon WorkLink, which is a one-click secure managed portal to allow you to expose your corporate websites to your users. And Amazon WorkDocs, our document collaboration solution. Why are customers looking at AWS EUC? So customers come to us to drive the transformation of their EUC environments. Customers are looking to get out of the legacy management and the day-to-day of all of the hardware, all of the software, everything that has to do with just getting a desktop to their end users. And they're looking to apply those core benefits that AWS delivers across all of our other platforms. So things like EBS and our S3 and our EC2 to their EUC. Ill-prepared with the water, sorry about that. So what are some of those AWS benefits that we're going to offer you at EUC? Obviously, WorkSpaces is secure and managed, so there's nothing but pixels transiting to your end users. There's no files, there's no exposure. It's a desktop sitting in that cloud that is in an environment you control. Very much the same as what you get with any products on AWS. It's globally available. When it comes to EUC, one of the hardest things is getting desktops close to your users. When your workloads are sitting in a given region, your desktops have to be in that region historically, because that's where you have footprint. We allow you to, in minutes, spin up desktops and infrastructure wherever you need, so that you can get that experience as good as possible and to the users where they need it. It's scalable. One of the biggest pain points that our EUC customers come to us with is the fact that their workload is changing. We would all love to say that we have X number of users, and that number is never going to change. We're prepared for it. We're ready for it. That's not the way it works. Tomorrow, somebody is going to come to your office and say, we just added this division. We just completed an NMA, something to that effect. I have a bunch more users that you now have to deal with. Or they're going to say the opposite. We're going through divestiture. We're changing things. We have consultants that have completed their product. You have a whole bunch of assets that you just paid for, you just provisioned, that you don't need anymore. We're allowing you to scale up, scale down, however you need, whenever you want. And much like other AWS services, we're very much API-driven. We want our customers to have the ability to spin up, spin down, and to do all of this as code. And it's pay as you go. One of the classic problems with a lot of EUC solutions is once you make that investment for your level of usage, you've paid for it. It's sitting in your data center, it's taking up space, it's on your balance sheet, and it's not going away, whether it's used or not. With AWS EUC, you're paying as you're using. You're not paying for more, and when you start using less, you're not paying for it anymore. Don't want you to just take my name for it. My word for it, apologies. I want you to look at the names of many people that are willing to say that they're happily using AWS EUC products. We have customers up there from every vertical you can think of, and very much an eye chart, but I brought a customer with me today, so you don't have to just stare at the eye chart. In the last couple of years, we've released over 250 features across our end user and our collaboration platforms. So we are perpetually iterating. In the last year or so since we were on these stages this time last year, we've added controls around accessing workspaces, so specifically workspaces, changes that we've made, sorry. So IP access control groups, CloudWatch events at connection, Linux workspaces, I'm forgetting a whole bunch of them. Bring your own license automation. We've really spent a lot of time listening to our customers, targeting their pain points, and perpetually driving towards it. And that's why you're seeing that number up there of 250. In 2018 alone, that was 102 capabilities that we added. The year before that, it was 72. The year before that, it was 40. So we are accelerating. We are listening to you. We are adding features to each of these services. We didn't build these services in a vacuum. We built these services for you guys. We are listening to tens of thousands of customers running hundreds of thousands of end user compute workloads. We are making these services to be scalable, to be reliable, and to be able to allow you to be flexible. So how are our customers using it? That's the biggest question we get right up front, is what are our customers actually doing? You have all of these customers, great, but what are they actually doing? So a lot of times, the first kind of things that people are looking at, they're looking at consultants, they're looking at partners, they're looking at remote workers, they're looking at those things that are really difficult to deal with in-house infrastructure. They're looking at targeting those scenarios where I hand a laptop to a consultant, they walk away, and I never see it again. All the classic kind of problems that you'd attack with a centralized virtualized infrastructure, but with the benefits of AWS. So partners, divestitures, mergers, replacing their legacy VDI, temporary employees, those pain points that mean that you have to have additional hardware, additional expenditure sitting in a closet waiting just in case, or you're rushing to suddenly scale up and rushing to purchase. Again, some of the benefits of Amazon WorkSpaces is all of those core benefits of AWS that I just talked about, that scalability, that reliability, that elasticity, as we like to say. We've really worked to simplify the management and to take the availability out of your mind share. We don't want you to be worrying about, do I have to suddenly add? Do I have to go out of my way to add additional tooling just so I can turn on more desktops, just so I can create my base desktop? We really want to make that management something that you're not thinking about as much. And we want you to allow you to control that spending. Finally, WorkSpaces is all about flexibility. We want you to use the desktops how and when you want. That means we're delivering a client on the desktop side, Mac OS and Windows. On the mobile side, iOS and Android. We have web client, we have a Chrome OS client, we have Zero clients. However you want to use it, whether that's a lockdown Zero client on your desk, whether that's a thin client that you're getting from one of many thin client vendors, or a BYOD scenario. We're helping you with all of those. We have, I know it shows 3 up there, but we have 5 flavors of WorkSpaces. We have the Windows 10 and Windows 7 experience that you can use right out of the gate. So you don't have to worry about licensing. You don't have to worry about any of those. Those are running using our licenses. Those allow you to use Microsoft Office, if you so choose to add them, and also an Amazon Linux package. Additionally, on top of those, we have a bring your own license model. So if you do have your own Windows 7, Windows 10 licenses and you want to utilize those, we allow you to do that. We can create a single tenant infrastructure for you so that you can leverage those. Bundles. We have both regular and we have graphics bundles. If you want as simple as a knowledge worker on a small 2x4 machine, great. If you have that graphics workload and you need a GPU-backed instance with over 100 gigs of memory, we've got that as well. So however you fall in, we have that. And additionally, you're not pinned down to these desktops. The caveat to that being that if you have a graphics desktop, that's a graphics desktop because there are drivers involved. But one of the pain points that our customers have talked to us about is my workload is fluid. Just because I spin out a user today saying, I have a need for a 2 CPU and 8 gig of memory machine doesn't mean that tomorrow that user is going to need that. Just because I gave a user 80 gigs of storage today doesn't mean that tomorrow they haven't worked and created more requirement for space. So we give you that ability to dynamically adjust those, to jump between bundles, to increase storage, things like that. We also have 3 pricing models. We have hourly, we have monthly, and we bring your own license. In the hourly model, you pay a standard monthly fee for the instance, and then you're paying based on usage. So it's like I said, a small upfront fee, and it's strictly based on what are your users using, when are they not using it. On the monthly side, we have a set fee for each instance, and we don't care if your users are using it every minute of every day for that month, or if they're using it for a smaller set period. We allow you tooling as well to make that decision, to have that data to see which model falls better for you, and to dynamically change. And our bring your own license model that I mentioned, in which case there is a $4 per user deduction in the price per month because we're not assuming the responsibility for your desktop licensing. Finally, I'm going to turn it over to Hardy to talk a little bit about Moody's journey.
Hi, my name is Hardy Siegling. I work for Moody's Central IT here in Manhattan, and I lead a team of desktop engineers. Thanks, Justin, and thanks to the Amazon team for inviting me. I'm happy to share our journey with WorkSpaces today with you. All right, let us start with where we were before Moody's journeys with WorkSpaces actually began. And that was more than a year ago. We were running up to 3,000 VDIs on an on-premises infrastructure for users in 40 countries and on 4 global data centers. Today, only two of these VDI farms are left. The other 2 VDI farms we could migrate to the cloud already. So at that point in time, we were not only facing the increasing cost for managing and extending our on-premises infrastructure for the increasing demand of our customers. We were also already at limited hardware resources and had partially over-allocated them, which resulted in decreasing performance, a lack of stability, and a poor user experience. In addition to that, we had practically 0 automation in place. That led to a huge operational overhead, to a high potential for human error, and to a complexity of manual processes which was no fun to handle. And in the end, as a result, it took not only several days usually to deliver a VDI to an end user, sometimes it took a week or 2. This is when we started to look into the cloud as an alternative to optimize IT spendings and to improve in flexibility and agility. We also wanted to implement Moody's cloud strategy and limit further CapEx investments in own hardware. But we basically wanted to get out of the business to manage servers, data centers, complex applications, licensing contracts, vendors and vendor support teams, and all the good stuff that comes with it. You know it all. We wanted to rather spend our IT efforts better by supporting our end users with flexible solutions and services. And we also wanted to enable our end users with strong self-service capabilities and implement as much automation as feasible and reasonable. One more driver at that point in time was the upcoming exit from our European data center with 700 VDIs there. We had started a prototype before with one of the vendors from our on-premises infrastructure, but this solution was still way too complex, and it was not a full service solution either. We were really looking for something for a full desktop as a service solution, and we needed it to be so flexible that it could easily integrate with our global infrastructure and with multi-factor authentication and all other Moody security requirements. It was also mandatory for us to be able to use our own Windows 10 image with the Moody security stack on it, and being able to use our existing Windows 10 licensing agreements. Another demand from our internal customers was they wanted their new VDIs always in proximity to AWS resources that they had in their regional AWS data centers. So our main drivers, besides an overall Moody's cloud strategy, were obviously to move more workloads to the cloud, use services instead of managing hardware, cost savings, better scalability, greater compute, low latency for regional and global users, and a good manageability, easy to stand up, and a reduced complexity. So at this time, while time was pressing to get our users out of this London data center and to replace these 700 VDIs, we got in contact with Amazon, and on very short notice, we conducted a workshop with them and our technical teams. And Amazon helped us, Amazon expedited to set up our bring your own licenses environment very quickly. So 6 weeks after we had this workshop, we were already capable to conduct the first pilot with our users. 3 months later, we had the Dublin region live and in production, and another 3 months later, we had Virginia and Singapore fully integrated with our ITIL platform and our backend services. During the whole project, the technical Amazon team was very helpful and available with help and advice on weekly calls. So it's now a bit more than a year after we got started, and we have 1,500 workspaces up and running in 3 regions globally. Let's move on to a technical overview and to some of our use cases. On the upper right side, that's the Amazon part of the solution. The only thing that is a little bit more specific than the standard solution is usually you only need one of these AD connectors. We have 10. That's the only reason why is we have 2 production domains, and we wanted to give our users the capability to use up to 5 workspaces per user. So that's why we had to stand up 10 instead of 1 AD connectors. The other custom part is the radio servers that we implemented in all 3 regions. They are required to integrate with our Okta MFA platform. The more custom part is this pink corner in the lower right. We put a couple of automation scripts in place. Not really so much code, probably not more than a couple hundred lines. Maybe so 10, 15 smaller scripts that are really helpful for us to make this a zero-touch environment. We use it for monitoring, for alarming, for usage tracking, for optimizing usage cost, and of course for integrating with our service platform. That's probably the biggest part of the automation we put in place is inside or within our ServiceNow workflows. The ServiceNow workflows call PowerShell scripts that are executed on our mid servers on premises, and they interact with the AWS WorkSpaces API. This is not only a one-way direction or communication. The other part that we set up in AWS, the other automation part, also talks back to our workflows and tells them when a transaction has been completed. So whenever a workspace has been created, we can let our users know immediately, 1 minute later than when it's ready to use. We can tell our users, hey, your workspace is ready, you can log in now and start working with it. On the left side, I can talk a little bit more about the various use cases we implemented. It starts with our remote users, which are Moody's employees. They love to work from home. They love to work on their own devices, so they don't have to carry their laptop home all the time. And they also love that they don't have to log into our VPN first. They can just connect to their workspace from their own device. When they travel, they can use their tablet, and they really like that. The same is true, of course, for contractors or external partners who need access to our data or applications, or that we need to manage our internal infrastructure. Speaking of data and applications, that is specifically true for acquisitions. Moody's acquires roughly 1 company per year, and it always takes a long time to integrate a new company into your technical infrastructure and to bring them onto your network. With WorkSpaces, we can enable these new coworkers to interact with our applications and data and to collaborate with their new coworkers right from the first day. We just provide them with WorkSpaces. In the middle, of course, typical internal users, developers use Moody's devices, and other use cases are consultants or testers who test our own applications on WorkSpaces. Other teams use Automation Anywhere and use the WorkSpaces as a test bed. And we also have admins who use WorkSpaces to manage certain resources in the cloud. A little bit more specific use case, which we just brought online recently, is in the middle. Some of our customers' service agents, in order to being able to manage applications that our external customers use, they need to VPN into their environment. And to do that with physical laptops globally was quite a challenge, so we never did that. With WorkSpaces, it was much easier. We created additional workspaces in a new VPC, which is heavily firewalled. So our internal users use these workspaces to establish a VPN tunnel to our external customers and to manage Moody's applications for our customers in their environment. Best practices and how did we make it work for us in an optimal way? When we got started last year, we didn't have any previous experience with WorkSpaces. So we learned a lot along the way. What was really a huge success factor for us was the automation that we put in place. Practically every relevant process or use workflow that WorkSpaces offer is exposed to our end users in our self-service portal. So end users can create a new workspace, they can terminate it, they can start it, they can stop it, they can reset it, they can deploy applications to it, and when needed, they can upgrade the CPU, the compute, or they extend the hard disk space. What they also can do there is to recertify their VDI. That's the other side where we had to make our experiences and learnings. That's the financial part of it. Cloud is always pay-per-use, and that comes with a responsibility. Some might say for the user, yeah, not really. In the end, it's IT who needs to manage costs and keep them low for the company. This 90-day recertification we already had in place on premises, and we are using the same method also for workspaces. Users have to proactively confirm that they still need this workspace. Another important factor was to use the AWS WorkSpaces cost optimizer. As Justin explained earlier, there are several operating modes. It's this monthly model or it's the hourly model. And this cost optimizer tracks usage, and based on the usage, it converts the workspaces into this auto-stop mode or always on, the monthly model or the hourly model. The auto-stop mode means that after 1 hour of inactivity, the workspace suspends itself. So from a financial perspective, that works pretty well for us. Of course, it has some applications, specifically for software deployment and for patching. You have to think about your ways how to make sure that works, since most of these workspaces are offline most of the time. And it was also some kind of a learning curve for our end users. They were used that their VDIs are always online and they can always RDP into them or connect to them. And they weren't used to that, so they were a little confused. We got a lot of incidents, and they thought, oh, their workspace is not working. However, they understood very, very well the reasoning behind it, and it just takes a minute to wake up this workspace. So last but not least, what's next on our journey? We are going to implement additional use cases. We will use workspaces as jump boxes for managing AWS servers. We will deliver more workspace choice to developers. We will implement Linux on workspaces that will enable them to use Docker or rapid application development and DevOps tools. We will also host Moody's applications for use by our customers on workspaces. And we will start using Amazon AppStream for replacing some of our published legacy applications in our data centers. For automation, what we made a really good experience with step functions. When we started with automations, we put in just loosely coupled Lambda functions, CloudWatch events and rules, and queuing and messaging. What we've learned for ourselves is that step functions is a lightweight workflow engine. It's simple to set up, and it visualizes itself, so it's easy to maintain, to understand, and to keep the different components together. We will also spend a little bit more effort in usage-based fleet management, not only the cost optimization. What we are seeing is that customers are very eager to request their workspace, but 20% of them actually never log in within the first 30 days. So we will, right now we are doing this manually, this cleanup of unused workspaces, and we will try to automate that. And last but not least, for our physical environment, for our physical workstations, we are working on some initiatives to implement Windows Modern Management and improve our profile management solution, and we will extend those solutions from our physical to our virtual environment. Thank you for listening, and back to Justin.
say he said thank you, but he didn't actually go to the slide, so I'll give him half a second on the pretty slide that they put together. And then all of the legalese. And then I get to go to my thank you. So thank you very much, everyone. Some of my colleagues and I, who have been kind enough to come, will be down at the front of the stage for as long as they'll let us keep the room to answer any questions you might have. And please don't forget to complete your surveys. Thank you very much, everyone.